Hello, hello. Welcome to my Craft Round the Clock segment on this fine Tuesday evening. We're going to be painting little Miss Sassy down here. Hi, Tracy. All right, I think we're ready to roll. So, this is where we're headed with our Sassy Red Hat Society lady. I did start the base coating, so we'd have a little head start on things. I will have this template in the CRTC treats file on my webpage. It'll be like $2.50. I decided to do super cheap line drawings for y'all that I do on my Craft Around the Clock segments. So that will be in there after this live, of course. I didn't have time to get it prepared for you beforehand, but it will be in there. And also my Facebook subscribers, my Facebook page will also get this for free inside the VIP Backstage Brush Club. Okay, if you want to be a Brush Club member, you know where to go at the top of my page here. Okay, spiel over. Let's paint this lady. Okay, so I will also have in that little package of the line drawing, I'll also have a base coating guide as to the start of this as well, since we jumped ahead halfway through the painting. All right, how's everybody doing? We're here until, hello, Kelly. We're here until 10:45, so we have 45 minutes to see if we can get this little lady fixed up. All right, so we're going to start with a little slate gray. And we're going to go down here on the bottom side of her body. And we're going to shade the goose body. Hello, Terry Seymour. So we're just going to put a little bit of gray right here underneath here. This lady's given a mean side eye. I kind of like it. She's very sassy. I do have a few more of these geese, various little Red Hat Society ladies that I have coming up after this one. I have a whole flock of them, and they're all different expressions, but I really liked this one with the side eye. She was pretty. She has some attitude, you know, not unlike myself sometimes. We'll name her Yvette. Hello, Jan. So we're just going to go above this little necklace. I did do her necklace in red beads. I was considering doing the white ones, but the white pearls. But I thought it would get lost on her white body, so I went with red instead. It kind of ties in with the whole theme anyway. So we can go up here along the back side of her neck. Get under her hat there. So we're going to watch this little lady come to life. Hello, Miss Sue. You found me. Good job. Good job. You usually check about 10 different places before you finally find us, Sue. It's all good. Oh, girl. I don't know what I'm going to do with you. So we're just still using this light gray to shade around her beak. And we have to add her chin in a bit here, but I just want to get some of this shading done first, and then we're going to add some more of her parts like her eye and her neckline. But we'll get some of this stuff done first. Got a little dark there. We're just going to add a little water and smooth that out. Probably should have left it alone, not messed with it. Okay, that's pretty good for a first pass. Only two? You went only two places tonight? Oh my. You are my source of entertainment. There's Sue out surfing the net trying to find us. God bless you. All right. So I'm going to use a little bit of burnt orange for her beak to start. We have several colors that have to go onto her beak, but we'll start with this. Hello, Cheryl. So we'll go along this bottom part of her beak here. And then the bottom edge of the top part. So who thinks they want to paint this little lady? I'm telling you, she's fun to paint. Her side eye just kills me. I love it. Like, I mean, look at that side eye. Like, tell me she's not judging you. Love it. She cracks me up. Yeah, we're going to put a bell on her, Terry, so we know where she's at. We're going to have to do something like that just to find her. All right, going in with a little burnt umber on the beak now. So same deal. We're going to go the bottom edge of that burnt orange we just put on there. Just a little on that very bottom edge. And same on this part. Those lights really give a glare. Sometimes it's hard for me to see if I've actually got paint on the surface. And then we'll put a little bit up here. And then we're going to move on to her hat. All right. So I did a couple colors on her hat for shading. Probably about 3 actually. We're going to go first in with some Cherry Merlot. Just to get this underside shaded down. So this is kind of a purpley color, but it's nice and dark and a nice accent to this red. And I'm kind of doing a wide, putting a little more pressure on my brush to get a little wider shade like so. Yeah, she does, Sue. She definitely has that look. Okay, and we'll come on this side, do the same. And And we'll come up along this side of her face. There's a few parts to this hat, so I got a little bit of work to do here. So also on this brim, we're going to come along the bottom edge of this little bow up in here. I'll let that dry for a second. And we'll come along this bottom edge here at the top of the hat. And that bow. I'm going to give it a quick dry. Do I have the goose that sits on the porch? No, I don't have one, but I haven't seen any anywhere. I wouldn't know where to even get one, but they are cute as a button. So I'm going to go along the top edge of this brim. I think Miss Tracy, our Craft Around the Clock leader, she dressed up some little geese from, I don't know if she got them at the dollar store or where, but anyway, I think she did a cute little tutorial of with some tinier geese, and they were really sweet. I did notice those. It's all the rage right now, geese, and it's like so funny because when were geese popular in the 80s? Remember we all had the goose canisters, but they were blue themed, and I think my whole kitchen was, I had the curtains, I had the placemats, I had the canisters, I had it all. And then what I wouldn't give to have those back now. They're all popular again. So I'm just going back over this shade that we put on here first because it just faded out a bit and I just want it to be a little bit darker. I think I'm catching a cold, girls. My head feels like a balloon tonight. It's really strange. It's silly weather. One day it's warm, one day it's cold. I wouldn't doubt if I am catching something. Yeah, your mom had the whole goose set. Yeah. Yeah, they were all the rage back in the day. And there's a little smidge right in here. I'm just going to grab a bit of that in there. And we'll go over this again. Up here, we'll give it all a dry, and then we're going to bring in some black along that edge. Just to darken it down just a bit more. There's a few layers to this shading on this lady. Yeah, Cheryl, she's sassy. She's got the feathers and the netting going off the back too. She's got it all going on. She has got it all going on, this girl. Okay, then get some black. So I'll also be putting the supply list, the paint colors and line drawing and the base coating guide in that little package with this line drawing as well. So if you want a painter, you'll be able to have all the info you need. She's a fun paint. Okay, so we're just going to go along that edge. I don't want to cover up, so I'm just using the point on my brush. I don't want to cover up all that pretty cherry merlot we just put on there, so I'm just going to go right in here at the edge. So just using the point of my angled brush and light pressure, like so. So we just want to darken that down in there, which I think we did just fine. And we'll do the same thing back here. And we're going to do the same thing on all those parts that we just did up here. So just a little bit of that black. Just going to add a little more shade to it with this color. All right, I mean, you can always go back in and tweak that if you need to, but I think we're gonna let that be just for now. We're gonna work on that little bow. Now, a little trick that I did. Yes, Terry, you got me. She asked, is the goose going to be a collection like the moose? And absolutely yes. I have about, I think, 5 of these ladies drawn and ready to go. So yes, it is going to be a little Red Hat Society group. And there's even a chicken. So there's a 5 geese, I think, and then a chicken with that's part of the Red Hat Society as well. But they all kind of have a little different expressions, and they are fun. But yes, going to be a little collection. And I'll probably do one in the membership group as well. We'll add one for May. We'll do one in there. Okay, so next up, I'm going to do a little bit of white. And I'm going to add it here, and I know it's going to look weird, but you'll see why I'm going to do this in a second. So I'm just going to put a little bit of white here on these bottom edges. And I know it kind of looks weird right now, but it'll make sense in a minute. Okay, and then on the top of the hat, I'm going to do the same thing, a little highlight up there. And then I'm going to dry it. Yeah, she's a classy one, Kelly. All right, so the reason why I put the white there, and I know it doesn't look right, because it's kind of a stark looking color for a highlight, but I want to use some true red. And when you put that little skiff of white on there first, if we had just gone in with the true red, it kind of would like get lost in there. But if you notice on my original, you can see it's nice and bright on there. And that's because I put the white underneath it. So we're just going to go straight over that. with the true red, and it's going to pop. Now we still might have to do a couple coats, but it's going to pop a little bit better than if we had just gone right onto that dark, and that's Tuscan red that I had on there, a nice dark red. But I want that contrast to be there. So there you can see how nicely that true red popped on there. And we're going to do the same thing on both front sides of this. Whoops, excuse me while I use my finger to get that off there. I went out the lines a little bit. All right, so we're just going to put this on here. And it's going to do the same. It's going to pop nicely, and we're going to get that nice bright red hue there. You see how that you can see it already. I'm going to dry it, and it sometimes will fade down, so I might have to put a second coat, but it actually just, there's a couple ways you can get the line drawings. Is it Wanda? There's a couple ways you can get this line drawing. The first way is inside my webpage, which I will add the link to this post after we're finished here. Any of the ones that I do on Craft Around the Clock, you can get for $2.50. That's Canadian, so it'll be even cheaper for my US friends. It'll be, probably $2 for the line drawing and the supply, like the color list and all that jazz. Or if you want to join my Facebook VIP Backstage Brush Club, you will get it for free in there. And I think that's literally $1.29 a month or something ridiculously cheap like that. So it's, there's a couple ways you can get it. You choose which way you would like. But she will be in both of those places. And I can add those links again after the fact, or you can look at the top of my page for the VIP Brush Club. All right, and then also, I didn't put any white back here, but we'll just add a little bit of that red, that bright red back here. And then we'll maybe add another little bit to the top, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, how are we for time? That's pretty good. I'm just going to put a little scuff in here in the center of this, under the bow. All right. So next up, we can actually go down to the necklace because it's basically shaded with the same colors. So I'm going to use some of that Cherry Merlot. And I'm just going to start here at this kind of center bead. And we're just going to go along the bottom edge of each of these little pearls. They wouldn't be red pearls, but you know what I'm saying. Her necklace. And then we'll just go along the bottom edge of each bead with the Cherry Merlot. Just get this necklace completed and we don't have to revisit it. Okay, we'll dry that and then we're going to put a little smidge of white on the top of each, and then we're going to go in with that true red again and make that red pop. All right, so we'll come in with some white and we'll just kind of, just hit the top of each, kind of in a little C shape. And then we'll dry this, and then we're going to add our true red right over top of this white. And a little tiny one back there. All right, we can dry this. And then we can come right back in with our true red and go right over that white. And that will just make that red pop just like we did on the hat. Okay. And we'll dry that. And then we're going to give it a little glare line with a little bit of white. Let's give this a quick dry. And then we'll go into some white with our liner. And all I did was just give a little, a little glare line on top of each of these little beads. Like so. All right, necklace is done. Now we'll go on to her little bow. Now I based the bow with some wild berry. And we're going to go in with some of that cherry merlot with this as well. We're just going to go along the outside edge of this bow, this side of the bow, and then along the bottom edge of that little wrap. And then we'll go along this bottom edge of these nice little bow ends and then around the knot. On both sides. Come down here on that little tail end. And then there's a little tail just down here too. So we're just going to go right along that bottom edge of the bow there. And then I'm also going to put a little bit on that knot. Just a little bit like that on the bottom edge and sort of like a little C shape, I guess. And we also have, I put a little bit of shade sort of down the center of the bow ends, just to make it look like it had that wrinkle in it, like that. And we're going to dry that. Now inside these bottom edges of the inside of the bow where they kind of fold over, I'm going to take some black and we're just going to shade along the bottom edge of those little openings just to darken those down some more. And then we're going to do the same thing with this bow. I forgot the bottom end of this tail. Sorry, I just want to put some of that cherry merlot there as well. We're going to highlight the top edge with the white, and then we're going to come in with that true red. So we're going to do the same sort of process as we did for the hat. So we're just going to scuffle that along the top of this little wrap here. And we're just going to go on the top edge of each section of these bow ends. And along the tail, tops of the tails. And the knot. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in with that true red color. And make that pop a little bit. So we're going to go right over that white and just get that nice bright red. So everywhere we put white on there, we're just going to add some of that red. And that's our bow. All right, she's looking fine. So next up, we're gonna move back to this beak, this little beak. And I'm gonna bring my line drawing over at this point, and I'm gonna put some of these lines on here for her beak and her chin. So we have a few little things we need to add. We have that. We're going to put this little chin on here. And I think at this point we can add the eye. We might as well, just to save bringing this out again. So we're just going to transfer that top lid on. And I'm going to do the eye opening. And this little bit of stuff at the bottom there too. So we're going to go back into our slate gray, and we're going to go under that lady's chin. So we'll just come in here with our slate gray. I think I have too much water on my brush. We'll try that again. Back in here with the slate gray. And then we can come back down around here and put a little bit more gray now that we have that line in here. We can kind of add a little more shadow just under her chin there. And then I'm going to take some white and I'm going to straighten up this line a bit where I messed up a little bit. I mean, my gray got a little, I got a little overzealous with the gray here, so you can just come back in with your white at any time and kind of straighten up any of that stuff that, you know, it got a little far out here on this back side of her beak. So, I mean, you can just take that base color and kind of pull that back in there. Like so. So I'm going to go straight in now with some of the burnt umber. And we're going to put this little shade line right there at the top edge of her. She's got that little snub nose on the end of her beak, which makes her look even more sassy, you know. She's got that snooty look, this girl. And then these two lines here that I'm just going to shade right directly along the side. This is just adding the dimension of the parts of her beak. So there's two little lines there. We're also going to go around that little nostril hole as well with some burnt umber. There's a little bit of a circular part around the nostril. And then we're going to fill the nostril in with some black. If I can get in this little tiny area. I'm just using the very point of my brush to put this on. And I like to shade it on instead of using just a straight line with a liner brush, because it softens it a little bit if you shade it on rather than just draw it on with a straight line, if that makes sense. All right, I'm just going to darken that down a smidgen. All right, we'll fill in the nostril. Look at us cooking with gas. We're doing good here. I have a little bit to do on that hat yet. I got to put a little bit of something on that brim edge, but we'll come back in and do that in a second. So there's her nostril, and then we're going to dry this, and then we're going to highlight with a little bit of tangerine and a bit of baby duck. Okay. I had it already base coated, Pam, but we've just done the shading part tonight. I already had the first part off camera done. But I will add the base coat diagram with the pattern, with the line drawing. So we're going to go on the inside edge of these little areas that we put. Oh, and I want to go on that very outside edge with the tangerine as well. And then just inside this little spot we put on here in the center. And then we have to kind of try and get in here around that nostril. So right in between the black and that burnt umber, we want to put a little bit right in that little circle, right around there. Okay, and I'm going to take a smidge of gray, and I'm going to just shade that little nostril a little bit with some gray. And then we're going to come back in with this tangerine because it faded out on me. Oh, and I want to put some tangerine under here, underneath that top part of the beak and the bottom. And then you can, whatever's left on your brush, you can kind of just scuff into the center here on this beak, just to give it a little extra hue there. And then we're going to go into our baby duck. And we're going to add a little bit of that on the end of her nose. We're going to come in here too and just put a smidge of that right along that edge, just to brighten it up even more. Right in here. And I'm going to add some down here on that bottom part. All right, she's looking fine. So that's pretty much it for the beak. I'm just kind of putting whatever's left on my brush kind of in that center area, like so. So there's her beak. Now, I'm going to grab a little bit of white, and we're going to go scuff just along that brim edge. Now I'm going to leave it white this time for that little highlight on that edge. So I'm just kind of using the side of my brush. And then I'm going to go straight in and work on her eye. Now, for her eye, we want to grab a little bit of gray. I hope it's okay. Tracy, I might be a few minutes over, and I know I'm the last person, so we just have a couple things left to do, so I might be a few minutes over. So I know I'm not encroaching on anybody. So I'm just going to put the gray under the eye here. And then this little eyelid, we're going to go on the outside edge of both sides, like that. And then I'm just going to freehand my little eyeball in there because I want to fix the line drawing before I give it to you guys because the eye placement wasn't right. So I'm just going to draw it in with my pencil and then I'll fix it on the line drawing before I give it to you guys. Okay, so because I needed her to have a little side eye, it wasn't placed just right. So I'm just going to draw that in here. Get my little center in there. Okay, perfect. So I gave her a blue eye. I mean, give her green eye and give her brown eye or whatever color eye you want. But we gave her blue eyes. So the outer part of this eye is Williamsburg blue I used. And then the center part, of course, is black. And then this little eyelid right here, it's almost like she has eyeliner on. That is all filled in with some black. So right in here, we're going to make this nice and wide. That eyelid right across there. So she sort of has like wing eyeliner on. She's fancy, I'm telling you. She's a fancy lady. All right, so there's her eye. She's already got the side eye happening. See how that works? Lovely. And next up, I'm going to grab a little bit of gray, slate gray. And right on this white part of the eye, I'm just going to shade along that eyeball. So this just tones down that eye white because you don't want it to be too stark white in there. Just soften that down a little bit. Then I'm going to take some white and that Williamsburg blue, and we're going to tone that down, mix it down to a lighter blue. And we're just going to put some of that lighter blue and even a little more blue, a little less white. 1 second, please. There. And we're just going to just shade a little bit of that lighter blue on there, on that eye. I need to fix up my center. We'll come back in with some black and fix it. And then we'll give that a dry. I will help you, Wanda, as soon as I get off of here. I will show you where to find everything, okay? Nancy, you can find the line drawing either on my webpage. It will be in the CRTC treats folder or tab at the top, or if you join our VIP Backstage Brush Club, you can get it in there for free. I think it's $1.29 Canadian a month to join that VIP group. Either way, you can get in there one way or the other to get this line drawing. No worries, Wanda. Okay, and then right along the top edge of this eyelid, we're going to put a little gray on there too. Just to go right straight across there. And I'm going to bring a little bit more of that along the bottom edge just to darken that up. We're almost done her eye. So now I'm going to grab my liner. And we're going to line along this bottom edge of the eye. And there's those couple little lines under here. We're going to add those. And then you can also just put a few little lines up there for her eyebrow. And if you want to line the eyelid, you can. So those two little edges, if you want to lightly, I'm failing at it, but if you want to just outline that eyelid just a smidge, just light touch like that. Same as the outside edge of this eyeball. You can put a little black there. And then we'll give her an eye dot in a second, but we're going to give her some eyelashes now. So we're just going to water down some of this black a little bit on our brush. And we're going to give her some fancy eyelashes. And we're just going to pull these in. That one got a little wonky, but ignore that wonky eyelash. We'll fix it. We're going to give her some nice long lashes. Right up there onto the hat. She's been down to the eyelash salon, you know. And then we're also going to, so her other eye would be over in here. Now you might not see these too much, but you can bring some eyelashes just out from that side, because that's where her other eye would be. Just onto the hat. Now, like I said, you might not see it too well. I can see it just fine here, but on camera you might not be able to see it too well. All right, so then we're going to take our little bit of white and we'll give her her eye dot. So I'm just going to put it right here in the corner. And then you can put two little dots. I don't want very many. I just want tiny dots down here, like that little eye glare there. All right, what else do we have to do? I think the only other thing, oh, excuse me. My nose is running. See, I am getting sick, you guys. I don't want to be sick. Pardon me for a second. We just have to do her feathers and the netting and shade around the, excuse me, outside a little smidge. So we're going to get some of that burlap color. We'll go around the outside edge first, then we'll finish those feathers. They take seconds. They don't take very long. We'll just get some of this burlap color. And I shaded around the outer edge of my goose. And it's just kind of like a watered down bit of shade. We're not going, you know, too dark. We just want to kind of blend her into her background. So we're just basically going around all of these areas here. We're just going to come around these feathers just a little bit. Whoops, almost went into gray. Silly me. Okay, so we'll come up here around there. So basically, like I said, all the way around. It's just kind of like a wash of burlap. And I think actually I grabbed the fawn color just because it was closest. But to me, burlap and fawn are super close together in color. I think fawn might be a little bit darker, but it works. Works the same if you ask me. Either or will work. And that's what this background color is a mix of white and the burlap color kind of slip slap together. That's what this background color is. But I will put that on the diagram as well and let you know what I used on the base coating diagram. So we're about 5 minutes over, so we'll probably be about another at least 2 to 3 minutes to get this feathers and the netting done on the back of her head. And then she's finished. So not so bad tonight. We actually didn't do so bad for finishing it. All right, she's looking pretty good. Okay. All right, last little bit. So these feathers, I took some gray and my liner brush, and I didn't do anything too fancy to these. I kind of based them in with white off the start, but I mean, you can just kind of pull some gray through there. I'm just going to water down some of that gray on my liner. And like I said, I didn't do anything too fancy here. I kind of just went over top of that white based area. Get this paint to come off my brush. I love her too, Terry. She's so cute. So we're just going to bring some of that fancy stuff out here. And then, you know, when I did this with the gray, I thought, oh, it looks too much gray. So then I kind of played around with it a little bit and just kind of went back and forth with the white and the gray. Like, I mean, if you wanted to have different colored feathers, you can come in with a different color too. I think I did actually, as I recall, I did throw in a little bit of that Williamsburg blue too. So where is that? Right here. You know, you can bring in another little bit of color there. Throw some blue in there too. There's no rules. Except don't smudge like that. See how I smudged the blue? I have another spot to fix. Put my hand right in the paint as usual. That's what I do. So there, we'll put some of those blue ones in there. And then I think I'd, you know, like to come back in with some white because it started to look like too much there. This is kind of the dilemma I had when I was doing it the first time. So then I came back into my white and then I just pulled some lighter ones through again. Like so. And then it's a little bit dark in the center there. We'll get some of those out. And then I'll dry this because I want to shade just at the base. I'll show you on the original. I kind of shaded just at the base with some of that bit of that black straight across where the bow would be. I kind of just carried it right over in there so that it kind of set it back in behind the bow. And I'll show you it. So it's kind of like just sitting out there right now. So I grabbed some of that black, which is the color that's, you know, right at the base of this hat band. So we're just kind of going to carry that right over top of the bow. And that right there will set that feather right into the back instead of it kind of poking out and just kind of looking out of place. So now it kind of blends in there. You see how that works? All right, and then the last thing we have to do is our little netting. I'm just going to freehand this. You can bring the line drawing over, but I'm just going to freehand some of these little netting sprigs here. So I'm just going to do the vertical ones, and I'm going to go into my black with my liner brush. We'll line those. Now I'm kind of rushing a little bit because I know I'm over time, so you can take your time when you do yours. And then we're just going to start bringing some kind of like in a little curved, bring some lines over like this in a curved motion. Like that. All right, that's kind of that little netting back there. And then I took my stylus, and you know how the netting has that little kind of knot in between each section? I just put a little dot kind of right at each of the sections where they meet, kind of like netting would. It's just to give that illusion of what netting would look like. And that, my friends, is our Sassy Goose. Okay, there she is in all her glory. All right, I hope you enjoyed, and I will put all of the line drawing links and everything right at the very top of this post. This is also shared into the Craft Around the Clock group. So if you can find it over there, the links will be on the top of this post and also here on my page for you to get the line drawing for this little lady and paint your own. See how that little something, I just keep looking at it and it doesn't look right. I have to fix it. I gotta fix it before I leave. It's just what I gotta do. It's got a little dip there. It's bugging me. We're going to straighten that out. See that little dip? I don't like that. I'm going to make that a little straighter. We're going to bring it down. So this is kind of like what you can do if there's a spot on there you don't like, you can fix it. You can change whatever you need to change. Bring it down like that. You can change anything with paint. So we'll bring it down a little bit like that. And what I'll do now is shade under. Well, it's already shaded pretty well there. See how it just changed the profile of that chin? Because I didn't like the way it looked. All right, ladies, have a great night. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this little lady. And if you want to paint your own, then we'll get everything posted here at the top of this post. Have a great night, everybody.